How's it, Jordan here? In this course, I'll be creating Flappy Bird in Unity. We will be overviewing how to use colliders, rigid bodies, UI, and some scripting. This game was inspired by Harvard's CS50 game development course. In their course, they use mostly Lua to make their games, Flappy Bird included. Only in the end did they do Unity, and I feel that they explained the Lua sections in more detail than the Unity sections. And this is the reason why I decided to make Flappy Bird. So, without further ado, let's get started. Hey, so as you see, I'm in Unity right now, or more accurately, Unity Hub. So, what I did to get this page is I just went New Project. There's a blue button right here. Currently now it's Create Project. When your original was New Project, and I clicked it and I got here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name my project in this little inputs field, and I'm going to name it Flappy Bird. Okay, and now all you have to do is go create project and wait a few seconds and it will start creating the project. And I'll see you in Unity once I click the button. Okay, so I'm in my Unity project right now. So as we see, there's 2D, we have a main camera, and yeah, that's about it. So as you see, what we want to focus on is the assets. So this is the folder where we'll have all our assets, unsurprisingly. And basically, we currently have one folder, scenes. Now I'm actually going to rename the scene. Okay, rename. And I'm going to name this game. And just reload. And there we go. All the downloads will be in the link below. Okay, so once you've done that, just drag it in. Okay. Oh, shouldn't have dragged it in my scenes. It's dragged out. And we've got Flappy Bird assets. So as you see, we have art, we have audio, and we have fonts. So I have a Flappy fonts, which is going to be our font for the game. We have some background music. We have a hurt, which is when you hit a pipe or something. And we have jump, which is basically just a boing when you press space. And finally, we have art. This should be the background. So as you see there, we have our bird. We have our application icon. And finally, we have our pipe. Okay, so in the next section, we will be setting up the scene. So we will be doing stuff like dragging our background, adding our bird, and after that section, we'll be adding in some pipes. I'll see you in the next section. Okay, so we are in the second section. So in this section, we're going to be adding in our background and making it appear to be moving. So essentially what's going to be happening is if we just go Flappy Bird assets, we open art, and we can just drag our background into the hierarchy. As you see, it appears in our scene. So we want to scale it up. And basically this background, although in the actual finished game, it appears to be moving, it isn't. In fact, what actually happens is this background sprite actually moves, which gives it the appearance of it scrolling. We want to go add components. We actually want to make a material. So this material will make it scroll. Well, it won't make it scroll, but it will be what we will be scrolling. So the default material is the sprite's default. So this is great for most objects, but we want to make a new material. We're going to make a new folder first to keep things organized. Material. And there we go. Let's open it up and let's make a material. And we're going to name this background. So we're going to be going to art. And we're going to be dragging in our background in albedo. And we're going to change the shader. Standard is usually for 3D games. And 2D is usually unlit. And I'm going to do unlit textured. Okay. Now if we check our background, we need to go back to our material and we need to drag in the background on our background material on our background objects. Okay, so this background this material at least is basically going to turn around and round, which is going to give the appearance of this moving from right to left. And let's write the script to do that. We'll be making a new folder. Okay, this will be scripts. Okay, and if we make a new script, this is going to be called Sprite Scroller. There we go. And I will see you in Visual Studio Code or any IDE you really want. Right, I'm in the editor now, or IDE, and we're going to rotate the material. So we want a speed variable. There's going to be a serialized field, it's a float called speed. And now we're going to make two private variables. One is going to be a vector2, and it's basically saying like an integer, but with two integers in the same variable. And in many other vector 2s or vector 3s, vector 4s even. And there are a lot of, like there's a vector 256 over here it appears. But we're just going to use the basic vector 2, which is basically two axes, x and y. So we're going to name this offset. There we go. And I'm going to make a new variable. I'm going to make it private again. By the way, I just want to explain what some of these mean. And let's just make a public one. Serialized field, private, and public. Those are the three accesses you have. Serialized field is a built-in Unity system. I'm going to explain private first. Private basically means that only this script can access it. So if you wanted to have another script and try and access offset, you could not. Then there's serialized field. It's the same as private, however in your Unity inspector, it will show. And finally, there's public, where in the Unity inspector will show, and you can access it in other scripts. And those are the differences. So I'm going to make a private material. Okay. And you may be wondering how we will be able to do private material, because we can't set it in the inspector then. But basically we will assign it in the script, which is generally way easier. And just a bit better, because if you have other materials, yeah, and you might forget to assign it, yeah, there's a few problems. So a public bool here, it is going to be can scroll. You don't have to do this right this moment, because this will be used in other scripts later on, but I'll just add this here just because we'll need it later on in different sections. We're going to be making a start function, and basically the start is called, well, on start when you click the play button on Unity. Now here we're going to assign the material. It's equal to get component, which would be like our sprite renderer, stuff like that, or even scripts also, or work on scripts. And we're going to get the sprite, not sprite scroller, but the sprite renderer. And basically the sprite renderer just shows the sprites. And there we go. And now we have the sprites renderer, but it's not the same as the material type we want. So what do we want the sprite renderer for? Surely we'll just get the material. Well, no, because the sprite renderer holds the material. So we need to go dot material on the sprite renderer. And there we go. Because now the material is assigned to the sprite renderer's material, which is exactly what we want. Finally, I'm going to go updates. And if you can scroll, usually in most courses, if you've done them before, usually they would say is equal to true or something like that. But you can just, if it's not false, then you can just go can scroll. And if it is false, you'd have the exclamation mark behind it. So we want it true, so we're just going to have it like that. And we're going to go offsets. So these are offsets, which is basically the distance from the left and right needs to move every frame, which is equal to a new vector 3, which is 3 axes, x, y, and z. And that's going to be 1, 0, 0. 1 is x, 0 is y, 0 is z. And now we're going to times that by the speed. And basically, as you know in maths, 1 times by, let's say, 3 would be 3. Or anything really. So times by speed, and then times by time dot delta time. Okay. Now you may be wondering why I didn't just times this by speed. Well, that's because that would have worked, but on my computer, which is a pretty powerful computer, it would, well, sprite scroller would spin very fast, and on a slower computer, it would spin quite slowly. And basically, times being some variable by time dot delta time, basically it gets the last frame, and it basically just makes it so no matter how fast or slow your computer is, all run on the same speed. So now we've got our offset speed, or at least the offsets. Now we want to set the material, or at least the material's rotation. How do we do that? Well, we want to get our material now, because we set it already. Dot main texture offsets. And that's going to be plus equaled by our offsets. Okay, that's it. And I'll see you in Unity project now, where we'll test it. Right, we're going to go to our project now. We're going to go background, and we're going to lock it first. The reason why is because let's say we click on this. Usually it shows up in the inspector, but it doesn't anymore. It's now stuck to this. And we can just drag our sprite scroller on it. We want to set our speed now. I found out through a lot of painful testing that the nice speed is 0.15, and of course can scroll. Now we're just going to unlock it, and if we press play, and as you see, it starts scrolling. So in the next section, we're going to make it so the pipes will generate. So I'm excited for the next section, and see you there. Okay, so this is section 3. In this section, we'll be making it so the pipes will generate. So let's begin. Before I start making pipes generate, I'm just going to right click on a background and create an empty parent. So this is just going to be just for cleanup, stuff like that. I'm going to reset to the empties position, and there we go. I'm going to rename it from game object to environment, and basically there will just be all our pipes, where all our pipes will generate, stuff like that. Inside our environment, I'm going to make another empty, and there's going to be pipes. And this is going to be where we have all our pipes objects as a child of this. And there we go. Next, I'm going to right click out of environment, and I'm going to make a pipe generator. And there we go. I'm going to reset its position. You don't need to, by the way, just good practice though. I'm going to make another script, and there's going to be pipe generator. There we go. Okay, so let's just wait for it to load quick. Now we can attach it. Okay, also I'm just going to open up my IDE, Visual Studio Code. You can look up any IDE, but I'm going to use VS Code. I'll see you there. Okay, so now let's just think, what variables do we need? Well, first we need the pipe object. That's going to be a serialized field. I explained in the last section what a serialized field is, but in case you've forgotten, it just means it's basically private, but you can access it in the inspector and set it. There's going to be a game object, and there's going to be our pipe. And this can be any object you want to instantiate, by the way. It doesn't have to be a pipe. But of course, it's Flappy Bird, so this in case it will be a pipe. Next, I'm going to make a serialized field, float, and this is going to be called min distance and max distance. Now, the reason why I don't need two variables to do these two is because I have a comma here, and basically this just lays it out like two variables. C# basically just pretends it's two variables. And of course, if you wanted an int, then you'd have to make a new variable, a new line of code. But you can just do this just to save the lines. We're going to make another serialized field, game object again, and this is going to be the parent. This is going to be the pipes, and remember we made the pipes parent in the environment. Well, that's the parent here. Okay, now we're going to make our float. We're going to make a float. There's going to be the min pipe height and the max pipe height. Okay, so copy these down because these are quite important variables. I've spent a long time trying to get these variables to the exact correct positions. Of course, you can change it if you want, but I'm just going to do that for now. And finally, I'm going to make a serialized float, and it's going to be x spawn pos. I'll explain what these variables do in a sec. Let me just write them, and I'll see you in Unity once I've done. And before I just exit back to Unity quick, I just want to say something. X spawn pos, by the way, just copy down this variable, and you'll see why in a moment. Let's just go back to Unity now. And sorry, just one more time. Let's just delete the min distance and max distance. We don't actually need it. So let's just go back to Unity finally. So as you see, our pipe generator has quite a few variables. We have the parent. Let's drag in our pipes. We have the min and max pipe height. Basically, if we just go to our assets, open art, and drag in our pipe. As you see, we have our pipe here. So basically, this pipe, right, we're going to be scaling this pipe up to 3. Now, it's not accurate sizing, but I like its size. Okay, now what we want to do is have this. I'm going to name this pipe. Is going to be top pipe, and then I'm going to make another which would be bottom pipe, and this would just be negative 6.6.6. Same to top pipe. There'd be 6.6 this time though. And of course, what we want to do is we want to flip this. So we need to just rotate this top one 180 degrees. And now if we look here, this looks pretty good. So now we're going to right click on both of them, select both of them, right click, make an empty parent. There's going to be pipe. Okay, we're going to make that 0. And just move these up to the middle. Okay, if we just check them, 6.6, there'd be negative 6.6. Okay, back to normal again. There we go. We're going to have our pipe. I'm actually just going to I'm going to make a new folder, and this is going to be prefabs. And we're going to drag our pipe into prefabs, and here we have our prefab. Now we can delete pipe, both stay in prefabs folder. And all we do is go pipe generator, and that's our pipe. Now to get the max and min pipe heights, what you do is basically you just get like this would be the max and this would be the min. And basically that's just high and low each pipe can be. And then in the script we'd randomly choose how high each one would be. So I'll just set that. So let's say this one, let's just move up Let's make that 1.66. That's a nice height. And you can just set this. And this would be negative 1.66. There we go. Now we can just delete the pipe again. And the X spawn path, if we just drag it in one more time, basically that's where the pipe will spawn. So basically it's a time basis. So it'll spawn here, it will slowly move down, and when it gets there, then it will delete, another will spawn, and basically it's time based, a bit of a random time, and it just spawned every, let's say, 2 seconds. And that's where it starts from. So let's go back in the code and just make it so it spawns on intervals. We're going to be using a system called a coroutine. First, I'm just going to make a void start, and I'm going to make an IE numerator instead of void, and it's called instantiate pipe. And this will create the pipes. Now you want to do brackets and yield return new, wait for seconds real time. And then we want to wait how many seconds? Well, I found a nice times random dots range. Okay, let's just delete that using that I created. Random dot range, and this random dot range will have the minimum amount of time is 0.5 f, which is float, and the maximum time is 1.5 f. And basically from 0.5 to 1.5, I'll choose one between there, and it'll wait a bit, and then it will run all the code below. We want to instantiate a pipe. So instantiate, okay, we want to, what game object are we making? Well, there would be the pipe. Then where is it? Well, this would be a new vector2, this is the position, and there's going to be the X spawn path for the X. Then for the Y, it's a bit different. We're doing random dot range, and it's between the minimum pipe height and the maximum pipe height. And then finally, we're going to do comma, the rotation, quaternion dot identity. That just means no rotation, just 0, 0, 0. And in this case 0, 0, 0, 0, because it's 4 values quaternions. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it's 4 values. And then finally parent dot transform, because all you want is transform. And this will create it. And finally, it will only create one pipe. So we want to make it create multiple pipes. So start coroutine, which starts this. You can't just call it like that, because it's not quite a normal function. You need to go start coroutine. It's like that. And then you could just do that. There we go. And that will basically start it. So we want it to start on start. And this essentially makes an infinite loop. So it starts this, it does this. Once it's made a pipe, then it'll repeat it again and again in infinite loop. So it never ever stops creating pipes. At least until the end. Okay, let's go back to Unity quick, and I'll just test this out. Okay, if we press play now, and if we go scene, as you see, a pipe spawns. And as you see, it spawns perfectly. Well, of course not perfectly, because as you see, the pipes all spawn in the same position. And that's correct, that's what happens. But the pipes should move slowly across the scene. And in the next section, we'll be doing that. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this section, and I'm really excited about the next one. See you there. Okay, there's a 4th section. In this section, we're going to be fixing the last section's problem, where if we press play now, and go scene, as you see the pipes, they won't move. Right, let's write the script for that. We're going to right click, create C# script, and it's going to be called pipe. Then we're going to go prefabs, we're going to choose our pipe, okay, wait for it to load, and we're going to choose load in our pipe script, and there we go. Now let's open this pipe script in Visual Studio Code. Right, I'm going to delete all the code in here, and I'm going to make a serialized field. This is going to be a float, and I'm going to call it speed. This is how fast it's going to move from right to left. Next, we're going to make a public boolean, and we're not going to use it yet. We're going to use another script in a few sections later. And this is going to be can move, and that's going to be equal to true to start with. Then we're going to make a fixed update, which is basically the same as going update, but you don't have to do times by time dot delta time. And if you can move, then what we want to do is transform dot position minus equal a new vector 3, and this is going to be basically just an integer with 3 values, the same variable though, speed 0, 0. And that's basically just going to move it slowly from right to left. Right, now if we just go to Unity quick, oh, and before we do that, we just need to do a semicolon. Now I'll see you in Unity quick. And if we press play, what should happen is it should slowly scroll. Oh yeah, no, because we must set the speed. So let's just do that quick. We're going to go on the prefab, make the speed 0.15, and if it's correct, then it should scroll the same rate as the background. Okay, a bit off. Let's just try and fix that quick. Okay, I did a bit of testing, and it turns out the nice speed is 0.14. Right, so if we press play quick and go scene, as you see, it slowly moves towards it, from right to left. And that's exactly what we want. However, eventually, after a bit, this will become quite laggy because the pipes are staying there. So we need a way to stop the pipes we need to destroy the pipes after this, or at least when they collide with something. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to make a right click in environment. We're going to make an empty. There's going to be borders. Okay, and in borders, we're going to have make another empty. Border, and this is going to be a box collider 2D along with a rigid body 2D, and unlike the body type, usually it's going to be static. And that reminded me of saying, on the pipe, we need to open it up. We need to add a rigid body first. There's going to be cinematic, and then finally a box collider 2D, just to have it collide. And we just need to make 2 just to fit the pipes. And you can change it of how high or low you want it to be. I'll give them about a pixels, just a pixel. So if they go a bit too high, it's a big, depending on how high you make it, the more forgiveness you give to the player, kind of. I'm just going to make another box collider 2D, and I'm just going to move it downwards. There, and finally let's just fix that. There, good. If we just go out of prefab mode now, if we go back to our border, right, let's just move the border to a correct position. We need to go scale, we need to make the scale a bit different. We need to make the scale 1.25, found as a good scale. And then the Y is 10.10. Right. So now all we have to do is just move it a bit and move it into the right position. We need to make the X, I believe, negative 13.93. You can just go negative 13.9 though. And now we need to make it react to the collider. So let's go back to our pipe code. we need to do a on trigger enter 2D. So on trigger enter 2D. There we go. And all you have to do is, once you collide, you want to destroy the object. Right? All we do is go, not that, destroy game object. Let's just try that again. Good. And now let's test in Unity. Okay, if we press play, what should happen? Okay, it's seen. The pipe should generate, and then they should. Okay, they don't seem to. Okay, let's see what that problem is. Okay, we need to make the border and trigger. So now if we press play and go to scene, now when a pipe spawns, and now when it touches, destroys it. And if we just make sure it's out of view, good. Okay, that's the end of this section. In the next section, we'll be setting up the player, or the bird. So, see you there. Hey, we are in Unity right now. So in this section, we're going to be setting up our player, which in this case is going to be our bird. So first, I'm going to go to scripts, and I'm just going to make a new script just for now, bird. And now I'm going to go Flappy Bird assets, open up our art, right, and drag in our bird. I'm going to make the scale a bit bigger, to 4, and as you see, it's a nice size. Next, I'm going to add a box slider 2D just to fit it. So if it doesn't fit exactly, then you might want to try and move it, but I think this is okay. Next, I want to add a Rigidbody 2D, and Rigidbody basically gives it physics, so if we press play now, then it would fall. And that does physics. I also want to make the gravity scale a bit small, so it just falls a bit faster, like that. And before I carry on, I just want to say something. If, like, in my testing of creating this project, you've been having weird stuff like the pipe somehow clipping and merging with the background, stuff like that, then don't worry. All you have to do is open additional settings, sorting layer, and add a sorting layer. I've been pretty lucky with this project, but in case you haven't, all you do is add a sorting layer. In this case, you'd have background first, then you'd have the player, and finally you can have the pipe. You can have your player and pipe in any order, as long as it's as the background is at the very underneath. Next we go background, find your sprite renderer, and on additional settings, choose background. Then you go to prefabs. If we go to our pipe, then we want to just open it up, our prefab. So just double click on the prefab. And if we select our top and bottom pipe, the actual sprite renderers, at the same time, just choose the sorting layer. In this case, it would be the pipe. And then finally, go to bird. And of course, unsurprisingly, you want to have your player. Next, we want to just add in our bird script we created at the start of this section. And what we want to do is just open this bird script up in Visual Studio Code. So, I'll see you there. Okay, I have my bird script open now. I'm just going to clear everything first, just to have a nice clean workspace in the IDE. I'm going to go and make a private Rigidbody 2D. And remember when I added the Rigidbody 2D components on my object? Well, that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to try and access it. And if we just jump to our, if we first just make a start, we want to set this. If you remember when we were coding our sprite scroller script, as you see here on start, we set it. We set our material. In this case, we're going to actually just copy this and paste it in start. We can change material though to Rigidbody 2D and sprite renderer to Rigidbody, and finally just delete the dot material because we're just accessing a Rigidbody. And there we go. Now we've got access to our Rigidbody, and we want to now make it so he can jump. If we go update, so So if, and let's just skip that just for now. So if you click a key, then we want to make you jump or add a force. And there we go. Add force. But where's the force? Because it can do 3-degree forces. It can do force on the X, Y, or Z force. We're going to do Y, which is the up. So we want to go transform dot up, comma, times by, going to make a new variable. This is going to be a private variable, up, and it's going to be, not private variable, a serialized field variable. Can make it private if we want though, but we want a serialized field float upwards force. And I'm going to equal this to 9. And that's how basically the force which we move upwards when we jump. So we times it by the upwards force, okay? And then finally go comma and force mode 2D dot impulse. And there we go. And that force mode dot impulse just makes it snappier moving upwards. There we go. So now if we just go back to Unity quick. Oh wait, that won't work because we need to get the input, the key. So what you want to do is go input dot get key down and then key code dot wherever you want. That can be key code dot W to move up, key code dot space, and that's great and all. Let's say you click space, that's great, but let's say you only do space and you want to do something else. Well, what you do is you go the 2 straight lines together and then that's or sign basically. So you click space or you click up arrow and then the same here, or finally you click W and you can do any key you want, but space, up arrow and W are the keys I'm going to use. Right, now if we go Unity quick and if we just press play, if we press space, as you see it starts jumping and you can already see how the game is looking good already. However, it's missing one thing. If you remember at the start of the course where I showcased the finished game, it rotated up and down, rotated. So we're going to code that in quick. Let's just go back to the bird script quick. I'm going to make a system where if we go into enter in our rigidbody.add force, I'm going to make what's called a quaternion, which is Unity's form of rotation. I'm just going to call it rot. And I'm going to set that equal to quaternion.identity, which is basically just means no rotation at all. Next, I'm going to make it so rot, which is our rotation, dot Euler angles. We're going to set the rot now is equal to a new vector 3, and it's going to be 0, 0, 0, and we're going to rotate the Z. This will do nothing if you just tried it now though. We need to set it still. Transform dot rotation is equal to rot. And if we test it, there's going to be a problem, but I'll overview that in a sec. Just go Unity quick. Okay, if now we press play, we have a bit of a problem. Okay, let me just try and fix this one problem first. Whoops, somehow I set it to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, 5. There we go. Now if we test it. Right, now if we press play, as you see, it goes upwards and that's great. But first of all, we have 2 problems. We're going to go bird quick. We have 2 problems. Number 1, we won't freeze the position on the X, so you can't move back and forth like that. And we also won't freeze the rotation. And because if we see this, as you see, it works great. However, he's just stuck there now. So we're going to fix that. if we go back to our code, we want to copy all of this. Okay. And if we want to delete the rigid body and add force though, instead of making it 0, 0, 0, we want to just delete the either angles because we're just going to set it to default. Quaternion identity, remember, is 0, 0, 0, so we can just do that. If we just run it, okay, if we just press play now, what should happen, oh yes, I forgot, go back to code quick. We want it so down is when you jump, but upwards, so when you let go, then we want it to move it back to the normal position. So get key up, that's when you let go of the key. So I'll see you back in Unity now. Okay, if we press play, finally what should happen, and there we go. As you see, he jumps up kind of. And it does the exact same thing as the final game. Now, the last thing I'm going to do in this section is just add in our bird into the prefabs. And there we go. Now we have our bird, or at least a very simplistic part of our bird script working. Now the rest is just going to be stuff. The next section is mostly focusing on damage. So when you hit a pipe, then you'll cause damage, or a boulder. And basically causing damage is basically just killing the bird or pausing the game and seeing the game over screen. So see there? I'm in Unity now. In this section, we are going to be making it so that the player can actually die. Another thing I want to fix before I begin on the dying is that it can fly up to space, basically, or fall through the floor. And we're going to fix that right now. It's a very simple fix. All we do is copy a border. I'm going to make its width 17 and its height to 1.25. And if we just move it on top again, I can just make it a bit bigger. And there we go. Now we already rename this top border. And also I want to turn off is trigger because we wanted to stop him. Another thing I want to do is just make another border, and unsurprisingly this would be bottom border. There we go. Let's just test this quick. And there we go. It stops him from falling through the floor. Also notice that he's going through the pipes. The reason why is because on the player or our bird, remember when I made it so that remember when I made a rigid body, so freeze position rotation? Well, that's the consequence. But it doesn't really matter because the second the player hits one of these walls, it's going to stop instantly. Right, let's get coding. First, I'm just going to make a new script, and this is going to be Game Manager. And when you make Game Manager, if you look here, it has a different icon than the general default C# icon or code icon. The reason why is because Game Manager has been so used throughout the years that they decided that it's just simpler just to have this cog because that's Game Manager. It's just so well known now. So the Unity devs decided to do it. We need to make a new empty Game Manager because, as you know, Game Manager is just another script. And if we just reset its position, there we go. On our Game Manager, I want to add a tag, Game Controller. And along with that tag, I want to do one more thing. I want to add a few more tags also. I want to go Add Tag. We can add a few tags. We have the default, but I also want to add a few more. Like border. We want to add damage. We want to add a pipe and a pipe generator. There we go. If, by the way, unlike sorting layers, we don't have to do them in any special order. They can be in any order you want. Just saying that. So on borders, I want to set the top and bottom border. Choose our tag. Choose border. Don't have to do the pipe border because that's just because the player never gets there. We want to go to our prefabs. We want to choose pipe. That's going to have our pipe. And then our pipe generator, you can find it. Yes, there we go. Our pipe generator is going to have its tag. Right. I'm just going to open up my game manager script quick. I want to make a public boolean. Public bool is dead, which starts as false because it's not dead on start. Next, I want to add an update. Now this update is going to be a bit different, but for now it's just going to say if is dead is true, which is just like that. Then for now, let's just log it, and I'll just say player is dead. Or maybe just game over. Let's just do game over. Right, there we go. Game over. There we go. Okay. Next, we can go to bird. And we want to go over to our, let's just go to the bottom actually. We want to go on collision enter 2D, by the way. And we'll have a collision 2D. If you're going on trigger enter or stuff like that, it will be collider 2D and stuff like that. But for collisions, it's collision. Right. So if other dot game object, on trigger you could just go other dot compare tag, and that just checks the tag. But with collisions, we need to get the game object and compare the tag. We need to check if it's colliding with something that says damage. So we're comparing its tag. So if it is colliding with something damage, or it's colliding with a pipe, then why do a few things. First, we're going to do it a bit later actually. Let's just make a private game object, game manager, sorry. And that's going to be our game manager script we're referencing. And it's going to be identical to our Rigidbody. In fact, we can just copy it. It's just going to be for our game manager. Oops. And there we go. And our game manager there. And that's it. We can just go to, oh sorry, it's a bit different, sorry. Because usually we can just go, we can just get it because usually game manager, or the scripts are attached, or components are attached to our object, just like that. With this, it's a bit different. It's equal to game object dot find game object with tag, like that. So this one, wait, what's the tag? Well, game controller. Okay, wait a moment. Game controller. There we go. Right. If we go back here, we want to go game manager dot is dead is equal to true. So first it says it's dead. However, if we just did this now, it would give the game over, but carry on moving. So we want to stop the player from moving. We go Rigidbody 2D dot velocity is equal to a new vector 3 0, 0, 0. Next, we want to go Rigidbody 2D dot gravity scale. Remember we changed it in the inspector to make it so it falls faster. In this, we want it so it falls not at all. Basically, we're just turning off the gravity. So now if we just test this quick, go Unity now. And if we just press play, as you see it works. If we die, game over. So it still has a bug where the pipes move. So we're going to fix that quick. Now this is going to be a bit more complex. So let's just go game manager now. We can delete our game over log. That was just to check if it's working. And we're going to make a game object array. Okay. And that's going to be pipes, which is equal to game object dot find game object. We know find game object with tag. This is a bit different. Find game objects which will return a game object array. So find game objects with tag, okay, and we want to find what tag? Well, it's going to be the pipe. So let's just finish that off. Next, we want to find our pipe generator. We can just copy this. Then so find game objects. We can find game objects again, and this will be pipe generator. There. And of course, it won't return an array, and we want the pipe generator. Good. And finally, we can just go sprite scroller, which would be our sprite scroller. Just making variables, but notice that we're not making variables out here. Well, because we're only going to access it in updates. So we don't need to do it out here because we can't, if let's say we've made a start quick, we couldn't access it in that start function, wouldn't exist. That's a global variable if you do it up here. Isd can be accessed and update anyway, even in other scripts, if it's public. However, here's a local variable, it can only be accessed in that very function. So let's just carry on. Let's just copy all this. Okay, but instead of game object dot find game object with tag, just find, and that's the name now. So we find the background, and once we got the game object now, we can just go get the components, which we want to get the sprite scroller. Right. First, remember when in the start of the course where we did the sprite scroller and we said can scroll, and we said later in another section we would use it? Well, there's the section. We want to go can scroll, so game manager, go sprite scroller dot can scroll is equal to false, so you can't scroll anymore. So let's just test that now, just for now. If we just press play, and if we just die quick, the background stops moving. Good, now we know it's working. Now let's carry on with the game manager. We want to have the pipe generator dot set active to false. That basically just turns it off and stops its script running and anything else that's running on it. Just basically it's like deleting the object, but a reversible way of deleting the object. And next we want to go through all of our pipes. So we go pipes dot length. That's how long our array is. If you're doing lists and stuff, then it will be count, but this is just length. We want to go pipes in the index, so basically for loops just go 0, 1, 2, 3, and that's the index, and it carries on as long as the pipe's length is. So in that index, we dot get components, and we want to get the component pipe, right? And then we go can move, which is equal to false. And if we check our pipe, we have if can move, which is exactly the same as basically the same as our sprite scroller. We're just kind of stopping and moving. Good. If now we just check it finally, if we check it now and press play, if we just go along, we touch it, everything stops moving. Seems we have a bit of an error, let's just try and fix that. Okay, I believe I just figured it out. Basically, after we've done this, it is dead. Game Manager doesn't need to run anymore. It's done its purpose. So what we do, we go enabled is equal to false. You generally don't want to do this because this will stop all update functions or start functions, every function that's called by Unity stop running. And it'll just stop calling it, so update won't call anymore. However, for this case, it's okay. So if we go back to Unity now, and if we just clear all those errors and press play, and if we just try and touch a pipe, everything stops. And as you see, the pipe generator is turned off. So the reason why I got the errors, I just want to explain in a bit more detail. Reason why is because I carried on trying to find it, but when it's disabled, set active to false, you can't find it anymore. It doesn't exist. As I say, it's kind of like destroying an object. It's just irreversible. So that's basically how I got all those errors. And the other reason why I got all those errors is because it called it again. It worked the first time off, but it carried on again because it's on updates. So, and enable just stops calling updates. Okay, so we have one more bug where if it touches our borders, it should stop working. So let's just try and check that. Okay, sorry, I got things a bit mixed up. So what you actually want to do is you have your border, but you want to make one more tag. Damage. So, and I forgot to do that. So on our border, our normal border, we want to add that tag. And on our top border and bottom border, we want to add our damage. If we just rework the scripts a bit. So on our bird script, that's all great. So it does damage and pipe. However, what we also want to do is on our pipe script, when we destroy something, we want to check what object it is. So if other dot compare, remember when we said trigger enter was a bit different and you could just go other dot compare tag or this on trigger enter. So we can just do this. And dot compare tag, what tag do we want to compare? Border. There we go. And by the way, just a shortening tip, if you're only doing one item, if let's say you wanted to do multiple stuff, let's say you wanted to destroy this one thing and this other thing, then you'd want to do brackets. However, if it's just one line of code after it like that, or even like that, then it will just run this as a normal if statement. Right, let's go back to Unity and just make sure this works. Right, let's just press play, and if we touch a border, it's game over. Okay, this is the end of this section. In next section, which is very exciting by the way, we'll be hooking up a bit UI. Right, see you there. Okay, so we're in Unity right now. In this section, we're going to be making it so that we're going to add some UI. Right, let's begin. First, I'm going to, in my hierarchy, right click, go UI, and I'm going to make a canvas. Right. Next, I'm going to right click on my canvas. Actually, before I do that, we have a few settings here. We have a thing called a canvas scaler. So you want to make scale with screen size. So you won't notice the difference right now, but if you turn this off, it would have some drastic differences. Since the UI with scale with screen size, the UI is there, let's say. No matter what you do to the UI, it will stay in that position, that general position. If you do console pixel size, then it would stay in that position no matter what you did. It would go in other positions and it would go out of view, stuff like that. Right, let's right click. And before I do that, let's go to our scene. I want to make another scene view. Okay, right click on my scene or my game, it doesn't really matter. Then you go add tab, and we want to add another scene. And I'm going to zoom out, and as you see, there's my canvas. Now I'm not sure why it's so big, but Unity basically, I'm pretty sure the reason why is because it helps Unity with making canvases sharp. Right, let's right click on my canvas now. Let's go UI, and I'm going to add a text mesh pro. Now you want to import TMP essentials. Now you don't need to import TMP examples and extras, but you can if you want, just to give you some examples which Unity devs have done. If you close that now, we're going to make something called score text, the name of that. And this will be 000 as you start score. Okay, good. On our font size, we're going to make it about 74. And we're going to choose a font. Open Flappy Bird assets, and if you choose font, you can't use this font. Notice how the icon on that and the icon on our font asset is different. Well, that's because they are different. They're different types of assets. To make our own TMP font, which is a different type of font, we need to go Window, we need to go Text Mesh Pro, and Font Asset Creator. Now we can add in our Flappy font and generate a font atlas. Then we can just save it, and we can go save and save it into our fonts folder. If we now drag in this font, the icons are the same and they match up. Go again now, that works. So let's just make it go here. Now the reason why we can make it set as 000 is because instead of using an integer as our score, we're going to use a byte, which goes up to 255. So it's not going to get any bigger than 255. It physically can't. Right, let's just change the pos. We're going to first of all change our anchor, which will keep it in this general area. We'll change our pos x to 105, our pos y to -31. Okay. First we want to let's just move it actually in a bit better position. Okay, around there. And we want to change our color to black. We go again now, we can see it work. I'm actually going to split the screen. We just move our game and move it, split the screen like that so we can see our scene now. Okay. And if we just make everything a bit small just so you can see it a bit better. There we go. Right, we've done our score text. Next, we have our game over screen. Now this is going to show up when the game is ended and we've lost. We go right click on our canvas, go UI, and I'm going to actually first let's just create an empty parent. This is going to be called game over screen. Now this is just going to be a parent, an empty parent, just to get it in, just to have clean everything up, keep it clean, hierarchy clean, so you can just close it. We go right click, and I'm going to go UI image, and I'm going to make a game over background. Okay, name the image game over background, and I'm going to change the pos x to 6.9 and the pos y to 8.7. The width is going to be 447 and the height is going to be 328. Right. Now let's just make another bit of UI. This is going to be game over text. Text Mesh Pro as usual. And we just name it game over text. And this is just going to simply say game over. We're going to change the vertex color, which is basically the color of our text. And of course, change the font. By the way, to change font, you can drag it, but you can also click that little circle with the little other circle in the middle of it. And I'll give you this window to choose the fonts. Right. We want to make the font size a bit bigger, from 36 to 55. And we want to go to Rect Transform and just make the font just a bit more space. There. And move it in the middle. Around here. Good. Next, we want to copy our game over text, game over score text. Right. And this is going to be 000. We're going to move it downwards. And this is going to be in the center. Around there, let's say. Rect Transform again and just move it there. Perfect. I'm going to duplicate this one more time. And this is going to be game over high score text. Right? And this is going to say change the text input to high 000. And if we just want to change the Rect Transform again, we just do something like that. The center should be around. Let's just click it, select it, move it in the center point. Perfect. And I think that's about good. Right. The last thing we want to do is make a few buttons. We want a UI, a button text mesh pro. We want to make the pixels per unit multiplied to about 50 so the edges are nice and sharp. And we want to open up our button. Actually, first let's just rename this from button to retry. That's our retry button, so we start again. Retry and cap locked. RETRI, good. Okay. And we want to go retry. We want to also change the text. So our text again, we want to make the font size a bit bigger. Change our font to Flappy. Okay, I think that's about right. And change the vertex color to black. Good. Now if we just move our retry button a bit to, I don't know, around there. We want to make our button a bit bigger. So maybe there and there. Change the font size bigger again. And there. Good. Let's duplicate a retry button. Right, we want to move it. Good. Change retry from retry to quit. And we're going to rename the text quit. Perfect. Okay, the last thing we want to do first, we just want to actually set this active to false, so it's hidden. The last thing we want to do is add our countdown. So this countdown is triggered going 3, 2, 1 at the beginning of the game before we actually start. Now we're going to go and our canvas, right click, UI, text mesh pro. It is going to say 3, just for now as default. We're going to choose our Flappy font yet again, and we're going to scale it up pretty big. Okay, if we just go Rick transform, try and get it in a nice position like that. And if we move that in the middle area, good. We're going to name this countdown text. And there we go. Okay, so this is the end of this section. In the next section, we're going to make it so we're going to have some audio and we're going to make our UI functioning. Right, I'll see you there. So we are in Unity now. In this section, we're going to be setting up our sound. Right, I'm going to first have some background music. If we just select it in our audio, Flappy Bird Assets audio, we have a background music. Press play, we get something like this. So we're going to have that play in the background. So we're just going to drag it into our game. So just drag it in. I'll create a game object called background music. That's great. And if we just expand our hierarchy, let's just merge everything in. There we go. Here we go. In our inspector, we have our background music. We have play on awake enabled. We want that. But we want loop enabled also, so it'll carry on. It will never stop. We want to change the volume to 0.422, which I find is a nice volume. Our pitch is normal, good, and good. If we press play now, there we go. As you see, it's working quite nicely. If we just go to our default scene, good. Okay, so that's great and all. However, now we have our hurt and jump audio. And how exactly will we play that? Well, we have to attach it to our bird. We need to go to bird. We need to add a thing called an audio clip or an audio source, audio source, there. And we're going to turn off play on awake. We don't need that enabled. Okay, and we're just going to open up our bird script quick. And I'll see you in Visual Studio Code. Right, so we're in Visual Studio Code now. I'm going to make a few variable. I'm going to make a variable or 2 actually. We're going to do serialized field. There's going to be an audio clip, okay, and we're going to have 2 audio clips. We're going to have jump, and we're going to have hurt. Now remember when we add an audio source, well, audio sources take audio clips, and we're going to set that audio clip and press play on our audio source. Now we're going to make a private audio source, okay, and I'm going to call it audio source. On start, we're just going to copy the rigid body where we set the rigid body, and I'm just going to do that for audio source, okay, and audio source. Good. Let's just go over to our jump, where we have our jump, which is get key down system. In here, okay, go into enter. I'm going to go audio source dot clip, which is our audio clip, is equal to jump. And this will do nothing, but we need to go audio source dot play. And this will play the clip. Right. Now, if we just copy this, the last thing we want to do is just copy this onto our depth. Audio clip dot clip, audio source dot clip is equal to hertz, which is in this case depth. So let's just go back to Unity now. And if we go to our bird quick, we have 2 audio clips. We want to choose our jump on jump and our hertz on hertz. And I'm just going to apply these changes. So go override and apply all. And if we press play, listen. As you see, the sounds are working. Let's just make it a bit softer. So the sounds are working quite nicely. Okay, right. So I'm going to set up a bit of the UI. Okay, so I'm going to go over to our bird scripts. Okay, so I want to set my countdown text. Remember when I set my countdown text, when I made the countdown text in the last section? Well, here we're going to do that. So I'm going to quickly just go into enter. I'm going to make a private text mesh pro UGUI countdown text. Right, now this will give me an error because text mesh pro UGUI doesn't exist. We need to go using TMPRO, text mesh pro. Okay, now we're using namespace text mesh pro, we can use countdown text. So we're going to copy our game manager. Where we find our game manager, we can just paste that there. Countdown text, and this countdown text. Make sure let's just copy this name. If we just quickly go, let's just actually just find it. Text mesh pro UGUI, because that's what we want. We just copy countdown text name, just go back to Unity quick. And if we just go over to our countdown text, let's just paste the name so it's exact. Good. Okay, if we just go back to Unity now. Oh, sorry, Visual Studio Code. Okay. I'm going to make a IE numerator. So I'm pretty sure I did this before. Yes, when we were creating our pipe, I will install coroutine instantiate pipe. If we go game manager, bird script again, and on start, I'm going to call this, and instead of instantiate pipe, it's going to be start wait. Right. If we just go back to our pipe generator, because we're basically doing the same thing here. Go bird again. we need to make a new function, and instead of instantiate pipe, this is start wait. And this will basically just do the countdown. Now we're going to each one. I found out that instead of doing 1 second, we actually do a bit of a cheat. We do 0.7 seconds as 1 second. And that's just to keep 3, 2, 1 in line and make sure we don't get too close to the pipes. So instead of instantiating something like this, we actually going to just go. We're going to have a thing called start count, private integer, right? Private int start count, which is equal to 3. Okay, and we're going to go start count, okay, minus, and I'll basically just minus it by 1. It's just shorthand of minusing. We're going to set this now. Countdown text dot text is equal to start count dot to string, because we can't just put an integer there, because then it'll give me an error saying can't convert an integer to a string. So we need to convert it to a string. Good. Now we need to go if start count is greater or equal to 1, okay, then let's go command X. So if it's greater or equal to 1, then we can just repeat this. However, if it's, let's say, 0, then we want to go countdown text dot game object, and we gain the game object from the text dot set active to false. So we kind of hiding it or deleting it actually. However, it's reversible deleting, as I said before. Now also in our start, we want to make sure that our object won't fall. So Rigidbody 2D dot gravity scale is equal to 0, so it doesn't fall. And then we copy this line and move it over to here. Gravity scale, Rigidbody.gravity scale is equal to 2, whatever you thought was a nice integer, a nice number. Then we can go. We also want to get our, let's just go to quickly. Let's just go over to our start. We're going to make it so that it hides our objects, so or at least appears like it's hiding an object. We're going, instead of doing audio source, we're going to do a sprite renderer. So I'm just copy this sprite renderer. Okay, sprite renderer, and we're going to call it sprite renderer. We're going to set sprite renderer. Okay, and sprite renderer. There we go. Good. If we just quickly go sprite renderer on start, we want to set it active, or sprite render dot enabled is false. So it basically looks like it's hidden our bird, and it has hidden our bird. Also, I forgot to do else. So if it's 0, then it will do this. Dot enabled is false, is in this case true because we want to show our bird again. Good. Okay, and if we just go down here, we also go game manager. We have a few more things we need to do in game manager. We're going to do a public bool game has started, which is equal to false. And finally, let's just go game manager dot game has started is equal to true. Right, let's just go back to Unity quick. Okay, I just found a little bug. So what you actually need to do is, when you find it, we want to go find game logical tag. We actually want to go find just find, which will find anything with that name. Okay, let's go Unity now. Right, we just clear those errors. If we press play, okay. Oh, we have a bit of a bug there. Let's try and fix that. Oh yes, I remember. So what you need to do is, let's just go code again. Now, there's a bug I found where you can jump when either you did or it hasn't started yet. So what you need to do is on Game Manager. So first of all, we check and Game Manager. Actually, let's just delete that. And then we do nested if statements. So if that is true, and inside here we can go if Game Manager dot first of all game is started, or Game Manager dot is dead. If it's not, if those are both, we want those to both be. So we want game has started. So when game has started, we want that to be true. Game has started and is dead. We want that to be equal to false. So let's just go Unity now. Okay, if we press play now, we should. Oh, we have a bit of an error there. Let's just go back to Unity. Okay, I did a bit of a mistake. I've got to add these brackets here. So originally I was just doing it so it wouldn't add a false. We'll carry on doing all the rest. So like rotators, stuff like that. So all you need to do is add the brackets surrounding this area. So now if we go back to Unity, and if we just press play, as you see, no matter how many times we try jump, we won't jump until the countdown has finished. And if we just check our countdown, 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. That's pretty good. Okay, so in the next section, we will be making it so that, first of all, the score will increment by 1 every second. So in the actual Flappy Bird game, by the way, it just happens every time you pass a pipe. But incrementing every second for this course is just a bit simpler than doing it every pipe, because that's probably going to be quite complex, as you need to detect when you go past the pipe, so you need to have more colliders. It'd be a bit of a mission. Anyway, so I'm excited for the next section. See you there. Hey, we're in Unity now. In this section, we're going to be finishing up the UI. Right, I'm going to go in Game Manager quick. Now I'm going to make a lot of variables now. I'm going to make a public byte. This is going to be my score, which is equal to 0. I'm going to make another public by byte. And this is going to be my high score, which is going to be equal to 0. And I'm going to have a few variables. I'm going to have a serialized field. I'm going to have a text mesh pro GUI, and this going I'm going to be using and I'm going to be using TMP Text Mesh Pro, and that's the way we can use Text Mesh Pro GUI. This is going to be my score text. I'm going to have my game over score text. I'm going to have my game over high score text, and that's it. And I'm going to have one more serialized field, and this is going to be a game object. This is going to be my game over screen, right? And there we go. And finally, I'm just going to have a private int score weight, which is going to be equal to 3. Perfect. Okay, so first on start, I'm just going to make start variable. Start there, good. On here, I'm going to go high score is equal to, actually no, first, I'm just going to quickly delete that, and also when you add semicolon, it will have some errors. So I'm going to make a variable, not variable, a function. There's going to be an I enumerator or weight. This is going to be called add score. Okay. In this, I'm going to go yield return new, wait for seconds, real time, and I'm going to wait 1 second. And that's going to be how long we take to add a score, 1 second. So if you're not dead, so if not is dead, which is the same as going is dead is equal to false, and then if, and inside that if the game has started, okay, it's the same as going game has started is equal to true, then finally we go score plus plus. Right. So if the score is anything, smaller than 10, so it's, let's say, 1 digit, so it's from 0, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so on, so it's from 9, and if it's 9, then let's say it's 9, then we go score text dot text is equal to 0, 0 plus by our score dot to string. This basically means that this is how we format it. So else if it's, let's say it's 50, so let's say it's 50, then we'd have 0 and we'd have score.text. And let's say it's 125, then also we need to do else, by the way, else if. Let's do that. So, and let's say it's anything from 255, but greater than 100, then we'll just use 0, like that. And we could just really, there, like that. And that just formats it nicely. In fact, we can actually just go else. We can actually also remove the brackets because it's only 1 line after it, so we could even squash it down even more like that. And then we're just going to go out of here, game has started. We're going to go start coroutine. So let's just go over to like our bird, let's say. So as you see, we're going to start coroutine wait, which basically is calling our I enumerator. Start coroutine add score. Okay. There. And also this is going to be called on start. Like that. Okay. So if we just go Unity now, we can test this. Okay, if we press play now. Oh wait, we need to go game manager. We need to drag in some of these, set some of these. So we need to set our score text. If we open our canvas, we need to set our score text. I'm going to lock this, so the inspector locked at this. Score text, game over score text, game over score text, game over high score text. Okay, and finally our game over screen. Good. If we now just press play, so 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, and as you see, it increments by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. We just turn off sound quick, 9, 10, and there we go. As you see, our formatting is working nicely. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code quick. I actually want to make, just set up the buttons so they work. So I'm going to set up a public void retry button. Remember retry when you set up a retry button. And that's basically going to go, oh, sorry, not retry. So on retry, we're actually going to go using Unity Engine dot scene management. And that basically means we can reload scenes and load scenes. in this case, we're going to load our scene again. So retry is just going to load scene. And we're going to make another button, quit. By the way, make sure these are public voids, if else they won't show. And on quit, we're just going to go application dot quit. And that's it. Right. Now, if we just go back to Unity quick, right, if we go to our retry button, we unlock our inspector, go to retry button, we open up onClick, we make a new verb onClick, and we choose our game manager, and choose a function, game manager, and in this case it would be retry. Do the same to quit. Okay. We want to go choose our game manager, and choose a game manager, in this case quit. Right. Now we can't test it yet because first we need to hide and unhide the game over screen, but we can just unhide like that. So if we just go 3, 2, 1, okay, if we go retry, it starts again. Okay, so we just want to hide our game over screen, go back to the code. Right, on our death, we're going to have game over screen. Okay, dot set active to true, and I'll set it active to true the game over. Now, next we want to go game over score text is equal to our score dot to string. Right. If we just press play, if we just go Unity quick, okay, before we do that also, we need to go dot text on here. Okay, now if we go Unity, and if we just press play quick, 3, 2, 1, okay, if we just try and get a bit of a score here, okay, we can turn on the sound of this. Okay, we got a high score of 5. Right, so we have a bit of a problem, so let's just quickly fix this. Okay, let's just pause this quick, and let's go Visual Studio Code just again. Okay, so the problem was that the score weight, we don't actually need that integer there, so we can just delete that quick. Good. Okay, so if we just go down, now we want to make a high score, and along with that, we want to save it. So we need to go down here, we need to make a new if statement. So first actually, we need to go player prefs, okay, dot set int, and this is going to high score, and we're going to set the int high score. Okay, high score there, and comma, we're going to have that as high score. There you go. Right, we've saved that int. Now we want to go if, okay, so if score is greater than player prefs dot get int, so we're getting the int now, get int high score. So if it's greater than that value, then we can set a new high score. So high score is equal to score. Okay, and let's just go over to, then we need to set the int again. So we just copy this. Right. Okay. Right. Oh, and also we need to go set it in just one more time on start, and this is going to set the int high score on start. Actually, we're actually going to go get int, sorry. Get int. There. Good. And we're going to convert this to a byte. Okay. And then we're going to go high school is equal to that, the play prefix, okay? And that gets a previous school, high school. Perfect. And now, if we can go to game over high school text, dot text is equal to player prefs dot get int. And we're just going to get that int now. So if we just copy that, and all we do is dot toString. Perfect. If we go back to Unity now, and if we just press play, okay, 3, 2, 1. So if we just play around a bit, okay, we have our high school and our school. Oh, let's just go back to, first I'm just going to set it to center. By the way, alignment, we want to get the middle and the middle there. We go back to, there. And if we go back to Visual Studio Code quick, now we just want to go and make a string, and it's going to say hi plus by that player prefs. Now if we go to Unity, and if we just press play, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we play a bit, try and get a high score. Okay. There we go, we have a high score of 11. Good. Now if we just turn this off, let's just go to our school text. Actually, why don't just center that there. Okay, perfect. Now the last thing I want to do before ending this course, first I'm just going to close this tab, the UI tab, because we don't need that anymore. Now we go File, Build Settings. Okay. We want to go Player Settings. We want to set our icon. So search icon. And here we have our Flappy Bird icon. Right, we're going to have our full screen window, and just put in your company name. I'm just going to put, there we go, and there. And there's version 1.0, and all you have to do now really, just close it, and then go build and run. And just choose a platform, of course. I'm doing Windows, Mac, and Linux, but you can do any one of these. If you want, you can install the modules, like you could play it on Android, tvOS, iOS, WebGL, etc. But I'm just going to build it for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And this is the end of this course. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!